Are you running out of ideas of what to do with students in lessons? Are you getting tired of using the same materials again and again? I'm Rubens Heredia, one of your Pavilion EOT vloggers, and in this series of videos we're looking at different ways in which we can make our lessons more engaging, effective and fun. And in this video I want to share with you ideas to create better materials to use in your lessons. Want to know how? So come with me. A lot of our work as teachers is to plan lessons, and this process includes deciding what materials we'll use. Published materials are amazing sources of activities and ideas we can use in our lessons. This is true for course books, which go through a rigorous editing process, as well as resource packs and activities we can find on websites for teachers, for example. However, sometimes the materials we find are not exactly what we're looking for. And just like you, I sometimes spend hours and hours trying to find texts, videos, grammar exercises, images, etc. Does it have to be that way? Let's cut to the chase. Tip number 1. Use artificial intelligence. AI seemed like pure science fiction until a couple of years ago, right? Now it's everywhere, and I'm sure most of you have at least dabbled into it and tried to use an AI-powered teaching tool or experimented with generative AI like ChatGPT or DALL-E. There are countless ways in which AI tools can help us. They can create text with examples of the target language we want to teach. They can create images we can use to lead into a topic. They can even generate gap-fill activities with very little prompting. However, that does not mean that we can just hand it all over to AI just yet. David Matthews made a very interesting point in his article on the use of AI in the latest issue of Modern English Teacher. According to him, essentially, what one should take away from that is that AI doesn't fully take over lesson planning. It's a valuable tool that streamlines the process, making it faster. However, the core ideas must derive from the teachers themselves. Teachers have a deeper understanding of various aspects like class dynamics, class size, students' language proficiency, and of course, individual students' needs, which AI just doesn't grasp during the planning phase. I've already made an entire video about using AI in our lessons, so make sure you check it out. Tip number 2. Exploit authentic materials. I've also talked about using authentic materials a few times in previous videos, and I honestly think that they are a fantastic way to bring the real word and real language into the classroom. Many students feel motivated by the challenge of trying to understand texts that were not designed for language learning. From short, simple ads and product reviews to longer TED Talks and magazine articles, from TikToks to podcasts, we all have access to a virtually endless library of content in English language. The question is, how can we go about using them to design more effective lessons? In a very interesting article for Modern English Teacher last year, Matt Doan explains the process he uses to get things done. After leading in, I find it useful to try and include 3 stages: comprehension, reaction, and language. At the comprehension stage, I simply design tasks that require the learner to understand the content of the material. The next stage, reaction, is where we encourage the learners to discuss how they feel about the content you've shown them. In the subsequent language section, I like to focus on an interesting linguistic feature that is somehow linked to the topic or text. Remember that although we usually think of longer forms of media, such as films, articles, TV series and novels as authentic material, shorter bits of content like TV commercials, comments on social media, classified ads, product descriptions, etc. might be more manageable in a lesson. And they are also more likely to be the type of text, written or spoken, that students consume in English. Tip number 3. Ask students to create materials. We may very easily end up under the impression that we need to come up with a handout, a text, a recording, or a PowerPoint slide for every single stage of the lesson. However, the only resource we actually need are our learners. No student's an empty vessel waiting to be filled with knowledge. Every student brings a lot to the table: their lived experience, their knowledge of the world, their work skills, their culture, and of course, their previous knowledge of the English language. Brown and collaborators carried out a very interesting study in which they analyzed the reaction of 86 students to the use of student-generated material in oral communication classes. In classroom observations, the teachers involved in this project noted that students seemed engaged and motivated. Classroom interactions went far beyond simple conversation, combining oral communication class with the learning of fundamental academic skills and the development of autonomy. In addition, students' research notes were generally more comprehensive and detailed than they had been during the teacher-generated materials activities. There are many ways in which the students can contribute materials to lessons, from choosing reading text and video that can be used in subsequent lessons to actually designing the reading tasks for practice activities. For example, in a reading lesson, you can show the title of an article and ask students to create questions they would like the article to answer. And then, students read the article to check if the questions were answered. In a grammar lesson, you can ask students to work in groups to create a gap-fill activity to challenge the other groups. Tip number 4, make greener choices. When I first started teaching English, the photocopy machine was almost a mandatory stop between the staff room and the classroom. A lot of the extra materials we had access to was in the form of photocopiable resource packs. Although printed materials and worksheets are still valuable resources to teachers all over the world, we have been seeing a strong trend towards more sustainable practices for a few decades already. Here's some advice Yulia Irgitseva shared in the latest issue of Modern English Teacher. Next time you're evaluating a classroom activity that requires photocopying or printing, before heading towards the Xerox machine, ask yourself, is there another greener way of getting the most out of this activity without printing it out? Or can I do it with fewer copies? The lockdowns of 2020 forced most of us to start using digital tools and online materials. And nowadays, there's lots of alternatives to printed materials that can be easily accessed by teachers when preparing lessons and by students themselves during the lessons using their smartphones. Websites like WordWall or Bamboozle also allows us to search for materials created by other teachers, which can certainly help reduce our preparation time. Tip number 5, collect low prep activities. Sometimes no material might be the best material. There are many activities that require little preparation and no materials, which can be recycled and used with different lessons and different contexts. Think of them as aces up your sleeve. According to Penn-Ure and Andrew White in the classic book 5-Minute Activities, besides contributing to routine lesson planning, you may find these activities can be of use in non-routine situations as well. When, for example, you have to fill in for another teacher and need some quick, easily prepared ideas for instant use, or for supplying extra content for an English club evening or English party, for helping a group of new students to get to know one another, or for keeping students profitably busy when you unexpectedly have some extra time on your hands. Their book, by the way, is a great source of ideas for you to build up your own low-prep activity portfolio. And you should definitely check out the ETpedia series by Pavilion ELT, where you find thousands of ideas of activities from grammar to pronunciation that you can adapt to your lessons with very little preparation. I hope these ideas help you select and design more engaging and effective materials for your lessons. Do you know any helpful source of materials teachers can use? Is there any particular tool you find useful to design materials? Let us know in the comments below. And you can also contact me on all social media at WhatIsELT. Keep learning and keep teaching.